Being that we're currently in 2024, of course the wrestling game that is hogging all of the attention is WWE 2K24. I personally haven't watched wrestling since the company was still called WWF, so that should also give you an idea of the last time I actually played wrestling games. To me, sure, the new games look phenomenal, but when I only know about 5% of the wrestlers in the game, and that's being generous, well, it kind of ruins some of the fun for me. It's like, I don't have a dog in this fight. Anywho, this review isn't about 2K24 or even the PS2 wrestling games that I used to play, like Here Comes the Pain and SmackDown vs. Raw featuring EC-Dub. Man, EC-W. That was my Friday night growing up. Nah, we're going way back to the late 80s/early 90s to a little known wrestling company known as Tecmo World Wrestling. This little known federation was made up of 10 charismatic brutes, and although many of them went on to live fulfilling careers in other wrestling companies once the TWW was shut down, one of them lived a tale of failure and disappointment. So no, this is not going to be one of my typical reviews. This is the story of the technician, Dr. Guildo, one of the most hyped wrestlers that never made it. Dr. Guildo entered the TWW a bit late into its life, after many of the other wrestlers, like Boris Chekhov and Rex Speed, have already established themselves as leading talent. As a result, Dr. Guildo was brought into the TWW at the bottom rung of the ladder, and was told by the commissioner that he needed to work his way up to earn the championship title shot against the undefeatable Earl of Doom, the Blue King. Dr. Guildo started training immediately. Choosing between squats, push-ups, and sit-ups, Dr. Guildo slowly started to build up his strength in between matches, and it showed. He was able to counteract many of the opponent's holds and perform his own with much more power after completing just a few sessions. Dr. Guildo also had to learn the basic rules of the TWW. There was a 7-minute match time limit. There was a 20-second ring-out countdown by the ref, and a 5-second count for any top of the turnbuckle action. There was also a rule that during the championship tournaments, any loss would make the wrestler fall back a rank. His first match was against Akira Dragon, a fearful wrestler with a nasty back brain kick and German suplex. But Dr. Guildo was ready. Once he stepped into the ring for the first time though, he realized that he was far too unprepared for the onslaught of the veteran wrestler. As the color commentator Tom Talker called out the moves, Dr. Guildo struggled to get even a body slam in. Every time he bumped up to the experienced Dragon, Akira seemed to be able to contort his body perfectly to get the upper hand. But Dr. Guildo did have one thing going for him, as he wasn't called a technician for nothing. Dr. Guildo specialized in submissions, able to gain the upper hand when Akira wanted to get him into an octopus hold. But that wasn't enough to earn Dr. Guildo the win. The Dragon unleashed the powerful brain kick, and Dr. Guildo succumbed to it. But Dr. Guildo wasn't finished. He went back to the gym and continued training vigorously, increasing his attack power even more. In the rematch against Akira Dragon, Dr. Guildo attempted a different strategy: standard strikes. This worked for a bit, as Akira couldn't seem to get out of range of the punches and kicks. So Akira attempted to get the grappling game going, but Dr. Guildo was ready. Dr. Guildo was able to concentrate and use singular grapple points to perform various moves. The ability to use pile drivers thrilled him, and it was satisfying to use his trademark big swing to launch his opponent out of the ring. Dr. Guildo's first win came when he threw Akira out of the ring and maintained a strong attack, leading to the referee counting the 20 and eliminating Akira Dragon from the competition. It wasn't a satisfying win for Dr. Guildo, as he wanted a submission or a pin, but it was a win nonetheless. Dr. Guildo's next match was against El Tigre, a striker by nature that enjoyed to use his northern right suplex to trap his opponent. Dr. Guildo continued training in the gym, but even so, he was immediately outmatched. El Tigre seemed to see all of Dr. Guildo's attacks in advance, and Dr. Guildo didn't even have a chance. Even his fans knew that as soon as the camera zoomed into one of El Tigre's signature northern right suplexes, that the match was nearly over. Even so, Dr. Guildo did get a few attacks in, including a few big swings, but it just wasn't enough. Dr. Guildo lost again, and was knocked back down to a third match with Akira Dragon. Dr. Guildo continued his work in the gym. He was frustrated, but not entirely discouraged. He was determined to win the title and prove all of the naysayers wrong, but sadly this never happened. Dr. Guildo was able to beat Akira Dragon once again, continuing his onslaught of punches, kicks, and swings. Dr. Guildo was even sure to vent his anger by slamming his opponent's head on the corner post while out of the ring. But the crowd loved every minute of it, and enjoyed seeing this underdog put on a show. El Tigre, however, wasn't having it. In their rematch, Dr. Guildo was able to pull off a few more moves, but El Tigre maintained the upper hand. No matter how much effort Dr. Guildo put into the grappling contests, El Tigre normally overpowered him. Dr. Guildo was defeated once again, and back to Akira Dragon he went. Dr. Guildo hit a wall at this point in his career. He began the struggle against the dragon, and was defeated time and time again. After his 7th loss, Dr. Guildo called it quits with a record of 2-7. Dr. Guildo later told journalists that he felt that the competition was stacked against him because he was the newcomer. Dr. Guildo went on to state in an interview, "No matter what I did, I lost. If I pinned an opponent, the referee seemed to count slower. I could land 5 or 6 of my big swings, but the other guy just kept getting up. I just couldn't get the upper hand, no matter what I did. I just couldn't win." It was a sad sight to see. Dr. Guildo had a fantastic outlook on the sport, but he just couldn't make it. He later tried MMA, but was knocked out in his first bout. You might be asking, nearly 35 years later, where's Dr. Guildo now? He never really got another chance at professional wrestling. Dr. Guildo now mans a register part-time in a small supermarket. However, he never fully gave up wrestling, as he now partakes in various backyard tournaments to maintain the thrill and adrenaline of competition. This was the sad career of Dr. Guildo, the wrestler that never made it. So let's do a quick recap of the game itself. There are 10 wrestlers available, each with their own signature moves. Your goal is to simply beat every wrestler to get to the unselectable champion, the Blue King. You grapple by contacting with your opponent, and press a direction in A or B to do moves. Training increases the strength of your attacks, and it doesn't matter which of the 3 options you select, as all of them increase your power. But this didn't help a lot, because the AI always seems to overcome you, resulting in a game that can be frustrating to play. According to the manual, grappling is supposedly more based on timing, but I can never get this alleged timing down. Button mashing is supposedly not recommended, at least according to some stuff I found online. Pinning an opponent can be irritating, as the enemy might have an empty life meter but still get up from the signature attacks. If you lose a match, you go back a rank and fight the previous fighter. The commentator is a fun addition and does a great job at calling things as they happen. The game has a great presentation as well, with a visible referee on key situations. I'd recommend TWW if you don't mind losing a few times, but if you have a friend, it might be a lot more enjoyable. Final score? 5 out of 7. This is Reaper. Happy fragging.